All right, we're here to do our utility locate. Most locators make their first mistake before they even grab the machine. The mistake they make, they grab the wrong thing first. When I approach a locate, I grab two things first. Most important thing is a can of white paint. The second thing I grab is either a ground rod or a manhole hook so that I can open what I need to do. Okay, so we are here to locate this intersection. You can see over there the lights in the intersection and the sign. So as I'm walking up there, I am walking the site or reading the street. The first thing you notice is right here. If you can do a wide angle shot of this, Mr. Cameraman. And we call this a trench. You can see that's been cut, that's been sealed. It's straight as a board. So as I'm walking up to the intersection, I already know that I have something right here in this trench. Okay. Let's keep going. Most thing I got to clean out. So what I tend to do is I take my can of white paint and things that I notice, I dot in white. Here's a catch basin. I can see, I don't know if you can see, it's all right if you can't, that the pipe's coming out that way. So I'm going to go ahead and dot that as well. That's one hell of a cool can of paint. Now, as I approach my intersection, there's a couple of other things I notice. Here is another trench. See that? Nature doesn't do that. It's hard to tell where it goes. Look down here in front of it. When they pothole a utility, this is the marks that are left when they're done. Isn't that interesting? So they were looking for a utility here, and then when you turn around and you see that visual cut, you have a utility across here. I don't know what it is, but I know it's there. Now we have our noticeable trench mark coming up here, and oh look, it's in line with a water valve and a manhole with a W on it. Now, always pull these if you're strong enough. And sure enough, hopefully you can see that. There's a water line, and I'll actually mark the placement of that line. So there's one there, and there's one there, and there's one here. Now if you turn around and you do a wide angle shot of that hydrant, Mr. Camera person, we already know this intersection that we have a pretty major water line, and we know it's a fire line, and we know that it's feeding that hydrant, and we know that it's hitting this valve, and we know that it's roughly in this area. Couple of other things to take notice of. Here's a light pole, and I don't see any more light poles down that way, but if you turn around and you do a wide angle shot there, you'll see 1, 2, 3 light poles, same style, heading towards the next intersection. So I know that I've got lights at this intersection. Let's go for a walk. A couple of other things that are going through my mind are the buildings that I'm around. That's a school over there. That's a city building back here that I think has a pool and stuff in it. And there's a fire station here. So that tells me that I've got multiple different types of utilities. I'm looking at the ages of things. So pre-70s, you see a lot of steel, a lot of metal. In the 70s, they started experimenting with plastics from the 70s clear through to the 80s. By the time you're mid 70s, you see a ton of plastic with no locate wires. By the time you get into the mid 80s, they started realizing, early 90s, we got to do locate wires. By the time you're in the early 90s, everything's plastic, okay? You're starting to see some locate wires. And then by the mid 90s, more and more things have locate wires. Still a lot of plastic utilities. 2000 present, most things do have locate wires. That's a very quick rundown for you. Just remember, pre-70s metal, 70s to 80s, you're seeing a lot of plastic at that point. It's a big transition time. 80s, early 90s, and then you start seeing your locate wires. So now as we go up here, here's a vault. I noticed the tag. Usually power will have like an E or something for it, at least in Oregon. This one doesn't have anything. I would bet you it's gonna be fiber. Okay, sorry about that. We had to take a temporary break because our camera guy, he fell on his ass. So we were right, this vault is fiber. And if you take a look in there, you see multiple lines. So I take a can of white paint and I got one, a couple there, got a couple there, got a couple there, I got a couple on the cameraman's shoe, and I've got one over here. Okay. Well, I almost fell on my butt. So, we are working our way towards the next intersection because we know generally most utilities are going to come in from the street. So if you come over here, camera person, and watch your step, and you turn around back towards our dig area, you can see my dots on the ground for fiber. You can see that sidewalk. And you know that this fire station's going to have fiber, probably the ones coming out of this side. And you know that pool's going to have fiber, and you know that school's going to have fiber. So you know somewhere around the center of that walkway, you have fiber. You know that. And you have not even pulled out a machine. Always walk to the main road. Always. Every time. Here's our last light pole and a box. And if you look over to the left, over here, there's a powered sign. Now, I don't know 100% for sure that there's a line that goes through here, but it's not going to shock me at all. Here's a foam pedestal. That is not the foam we saw in that box. That's a CenturyLink standard box. The one we saw up there was actually a 4J box or a private box. If we come up here, I just briefly walk the easement. My wife can speed this up and make me walk fast if she wants. There's a sanitary manhole here. Those are really hard to open. Not gonna mess with that. And then if we go check the other side, woo wee woo wee woo wee, woo wee woo, whoop-a-doop-a-doo. You have to walk that way. If you don't do it like that, it doesn't work. You come over here, you're gonna see that water vault. And I'm not gonna open it. You can see the trench goes right to it. And that was that trench we noticed right when we got out of the van. So come on, and we're gonna go back to our intersection now. And our editor can feel free to speed this up and make me walk really fast if they wish to do so. Or they can just hear me comment. While we take the walk, again, pre-70s, a lot of metal. Early 70s, mid 70s, a lot of experimenting. By the mid-70s, throughout the 80s, plastic. From the 90s, early 90s, everything's plastic with locate wire. By the mid-2000s, if it ain't got locate wire, I'd be really double checking and looking. So here we are back at our intersection, and we're gonna let our back X guy go, and we're gonna let a car go. All right. Here we have irrigation boxes, so I'm going to put some paint. So the white paint does a couple of things. One, it helps your memory. We forgot to look at this storm. Two, it lets your contractor know that you've seen it. It's really easy to walk over something and not see it. Here's a storm. I do not like opening these. You will not probably be able to pick that up on camera, but there's a line there and a line there. These are a pain to put back because they've got this lip there. That wasn't bad, was it? And then we're going to go ahead and walk down here. Now, you see this trench? We stirred that early in the video, so we want to put white paint there. See there? That's another pothole. That's not a clean out. That's where they use the vacuum truck to suck down and to look for a utility. So you'll notice we're walking way away from our area of excavation. But I want you to look at these concrete panels, and I want you to do a wide shot at that. This concrete panel, if you take a full panel, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So from here to here is a 6-foot panel. Now from here to here is not a 6-foot panel, but the reason is obvious. They had to put in an ADA ramp. So here to here I've got a 6-foot panel. From here to here I've got a full panel. From here to here I've got a full panel. But look at this little 2-foot section dug out. That's a pipe. So at this point, we're just about ready to go get our utility locator out. But as we're walking to this intersection, I want to go ahead and explain to you that I know that pretty much walking a fiber line. Look at here. There's a cutout. Now that's probably for the ADA ramp because you can see the width of it. So that's not going to be a utility. But I still use my can of white paint. So as we're walking here back up to the intersection, I know that if my locate is this intersection, and please remember to put down white paint if you're a contractor, I know that I have fiber, at least one run, if not multiple, because I know the fire station is going to be fed from that vault, but this building has got to have a feed, and the school, and there's a building back there. So I know that I've got a fiber run here. I know that I've got irrigation, which I probably should have painted. See how every time you walk it, you find more, right? I know that I have irrigation probably crossing. I know that I've got water feeding this hydrant and in this trench. I know that I have a storm line, and I know roughly where they're at. Obviously, anybody that's done utility locating will tell you that sometimes things don't necessarily run the way you think they run, and that's true. However, known points are known points, like valves and manholes and saw cuts, okay? And you can get a lot from just walking a site. My next decision would be, what am I going to locate first and why? Thank you. Please like and subscribe.